Hello and welcome to your tarot forecast for the Libra new moon 2023. If you're new around here, welcome. My name is Shea Walker. I'm a professional intuitive, an oracle deck creator, the host of the Please Don't Eat the Sage podcast, and I do these readings every month on the new and full moon for both the general collective and the members of my cosmic community over on Patreon. If you're not new around here, you know that I have a tendency to switch up the format of these readings, and we are going to do that yet again for this one. So usually what we do is we start with the general collective reading, we start with a total body card pull for the collective, and we go into either elemental readings or sign-by-sign readings before I go into the more in-depth reading over on my Patreon. I've watched a few tarot readings lately where they have flip-flopped the signs and the intro readings, and I feel like it really infuses the energy of the people watching into that larger general collective reading at the end. So we're going to do that. So basically the format that we're going to have this reading is we'll start with a sign-by-sign reading because yes, I'm going to take the almost hour of my day that it takes to go through sign-by-sign and give you advice. Then we'll move into a general collective reading for the public that will still be available on YouTube and maybe Instagram. And that is going to be infused with all of the signs that came before it. So I feel like it's going to be a little more resonant. So if you're the type of person that skips right to your sign readings, especially if you just do your sun sign, you're missing out. So I recommend that you listen to your sun, your moon, your rising, maybe your Venus if you want a little insight into your love life, and maybe your North Node if you know that, because it gives you a little insight in your overall destiny. And honestly, I'm feeling a lot of Mars energy lately. So if you want to also listen to your Mars sign, that'll give you an insight into your passion, your sexuality, and the way that you fight with other people. The things that make you feel passionate enough to fight for, that's going to be underneath your Mars energy. Then, once you've done that, you have your energy stamped all over this reading. If you want to stamp a little more on this reading, like and subscribe on YouTube, and then your energy will be imprinted on every video that I do from now until the time that you decide to unsubscribe. Which, why would you? And if you really want your energy stamped on this reading, join the Patreon, because the Patreon members are the first ones that come to mind whenever I think of the signs when I'm doing these readings. So they're going to be the largest impact on these sign-by-sign readings, and they also have the largest energetic stamp on the extended reading because that is for them. So with all of that out there, if your sun, your moon, your rising, your Venus, your Mars, and the general collective reading resonate for you, you will want to check out the Patreon because it is getting so good over there. Patreon, the larger app, has recently done a rebranding and a redesign, and it is exactly what I want in my online community. I had been thinking for a couple years that I wanted to start developing my own app that included all of the stuff that I give on my Patreon, because while some people use Patreon as just a, hey, support the channel type thing, I think of mine as a membership subscription community. So I offer tarot card readings on a weekly and monthly basis. I offer Reiki healings. I offer discounts. I'm going to start offering yoga sequences that you can do both live and in a replay library. So it is basically my attempt to give you everything that I would want to give you in a subscription service. And Patreon is kind of catching up with that mindset. So the way they're starting to design things and put things out on that app really suit that subscription model. So if you have not checked it out, and especially if these readings resonate, head over to patreon.com/Michelle Shea or get yourself the Patreon app and find me on there, because you will not be disappointed with the extended readings or with what's coming up in the near future. With all of that out of the way, we are going to dive into our sign-by-sign readings. So because this is a Libra moon, we are going to start with Libra and work our way around the zodiac. I am using the Modern Witch Tarot, and we're going to do a single card pull for every sign just to keep things as short and sweet as I possibly can for these longer readings. We will also dive into a Total Betty 90s themed goddess for the general collective when we get to that, so stick around for that as well. Without further ado, Libra, let's shuffle the deck. So Libra, let's see what your one card for your new moon is. There's definitely a card jumping out, so that's yours. Libra, your card for this Libra new moon is Temperance. And outside of the Justice card, I could not think of a better card to pull for Libra energy. Temperance, like Justice, is about balancing, but this is almost more of like a mystical, magical balancing. So Justice is a very logical, earth-based fair and just balancing of the scales, and that is the Libra card. But temperance is an energy of creating alchemy, of taking water and earth and fire and air and combining them all in an energy that feels balanced rather than in opposition. So your goal, Libra, underneath this new moon is to create balance, which is kind of what your sign is known for. But this is almost in an internal spiritual sense than it is in the external world. So if you find yourself really concerned with creating balance and harmony and being the peacemaker in your external situations, it is not the new moon for that. This is a new moon to work on your inward balance. And if you've been around here for long enough to hear me talk about the inner divine feminine and divine masculine, that is actually the perfect intention for your Libra new moon. So a lot of people talk about twin flames. It's a divine feminine, divine masculine union in the external world that is supposed to be of the highest spiritual quality. I have a love-hate relationship with this terminology because I'm a recovering codependent and I don't think it's healthy to think about someone else being your perfect match. So the goal of this twin flame, divine feminine, divine masculine conversation, not just for me, but quite frankly, at the highest level of the conversation, is to be able to create the union of divine feminine and divine masculine within you. Because you are not a suitable partner for anyone until you can create balance within yourself and you complete yourself. So if that's something that you've been working on, I feel like that's going to be part of our extended reading. We're going to break down the feelings of codependency in many different types of relationships. So let's dive into that a little bit more, but definitely start thinking of yourself as a complete and whole individual and not someone that's searching for another person, another place, a job, an opportunity outside of you that's going to make you feel complete. If that resonated, stick around for the general collective reading. Moving on from Libra into Virgo. Virgo, your card underneath this Libra new moon is the Devil. So, Virgo, I just talked to Libra about codependency, and it was kind of an aside. You are actually dealing with big issues of codependency. So I feel like if you've got any Libra in your chart, lean a little more into the Libra because Libras are kind of like a step ahead of you. They're not necessarily working actively to release themselves from a codependent situation. They are healing their ideas around codependency. So that's where you're going to be in just a bit. But for right now, you are involved in some sort of situation that is codependent, and that is not healthy. So what does it mean to be codependent? I don't have time to go into the full extent of it, but essentially you are looking for external circumstances to make you feel complete and whole and worthy. And you're feeling tied to these external circumstances, be it a job, a relationship, a partner, a friendship, because you have put so much weight on them completing you. And the Devil card is about being chained to something that is not that healthy that you can walk away from at any time. So if there's something in your life that hasn't been feeling like the healthiest interaction, but you feel like you cannot walk away, that is never the case. You can always find a way to walk away from any circumstances. Sometimes it's a little harder. You got to make a bigger action plan, but there is always an exit strategy possible. So if you are in an unhealthy relationship, especially, but even if you're in just a job or a friendship or a familiar relationship that is kind of sucking your energy dry, this is your sign to make your exit plan, to know that you have the power to walk away, that the chain that you think is around your neck is loose, that you can simply slip it off your head and walk away at any time, but you have to recognize that you have that power. So I am empowering you right now with that knowledge, and I want you to continue to mull that over until it feels safe and secure enough to embrace that power and walk away from the situation. And again, I think both of our extended readings for the general collective and on the Patreon are going to deal with codependency. So if this resonated for you, stick around for those. So moving on into Scorpio. So Scorpio, I just realized that I went backwards for a second with Virgo, but we're going on to Scorpio. And Scorpio, your card flipped right over. And it is Queen of Wands. I love this for you, Scorpio, because as someone that has a lot of Scorpio in my own chart, I can tell you that that watery, passionate nature of Scorpio can sometimes be really, really powerful, but a little out of balance. And the Queen of Wands is coming in to bring you that balance with the fire still intact. So the Wands is very passionate, fiery, spiritual energy, which is all very Scorpio. And the Queen of Wands has found a way to harness that power to her advantage. So you are sitting on your throne of power. You have your little magical familiar, whatever that might be, nearby. You have your totems, your power symbols, and your wand at your side. And all you have to do is own that power. To recognize that you have done the work to get yourself to a seat on the throne. Now, this isn't always the interpretation that I have for the Queen of Wands. Sometimes there are slightly more negative interpretations, but that is not the read that I'm getting off the energy of this card for you, because I'm primarily an energy reader. The tarot cards are just there to help trigger the messages for me. So I'm getting a big feeling that Scorpios are stepping into their power. We had Scorpio moving into Mars prior to this new moon, and whether you have a Mars in Scorpio, I do, but if you have a Mars in Scorpio or not, it's going to be a very powerful energy for all Scorpio placements. So think of that transition of Mars into Scorpio as your inauguration. You've had the crown placed on your head for at least the next couple weeks, and you need to use that power to your advantage. You're still going to be powerful after Mars moves out of Scorpio, but this is your sign to act quickly and passionately to the things that you want to achieve in your life. This is really powerful manifestation energy. Now, this Libra new moon is an eclipse, so that's usually not the most optimal time to work your manifestation magic. I almost want to recommend that you wait a couple days outside of the new moon and then do some manifestation work. But underneath this new moon, know that you are in the seat of your power. Don't let anything ruffle your feathers because you own your internal magic. And if you want to know more, stick around for the extended. So moving from Scorpio into Sagittarius. So Sagittarius, we have a card that just fell out. Your card for this Libra new moon is the Four of Cups. So Sagittarius, I feel like you're looking in the wrong direction for getting your wishes fulfilled. You might be asking a little too much of a specific individual or circumstance in your life to fulfill your needs and not recognizing the other areas and other people in your life that can help those needs feel fulfilled while this other person is unable to do that for you. So this happens most often with a partner. We're coming back to that codependency theme. So if you weren't watching some of the earlier signs, I'm going to tell you right now that our extended readings, both of them are going to be dealing with issues around codependency, be it in relationships or circumstances. So stick around for those if that resonates for you, because this reading feels very like it's about codependency, because we most often do these unrealistic expectation dances with our romantic partners. You can sometimes do it with your best friends and your family members as well. So if those relationships are feeling a little out of balance or unfulfilling right now, they could also be talking about that, because codependency goes across the board. Essentially, what's happening is you're looking for something outside of you to make you feel complete and whole and satisfied. And sometimes we create special relationships in our lives that we think are the ones that are supposed to fill us up the most and the most often. And everyone in our lives are fellow human beings. And just like you don't have the capacity to fill up other people's cups every single time they come to your door, other people don't have the capacity to take care of all of your needs the way that you expect them to be met at every point that they need to be met. So this is about spreading the love around. It's about making your friendships more romantic and your relationships more friendly. So if you've been having a lot of expectation around your romantic partner, again, use it as it applies, but this feels like a romance reading for a lot of you. If you've been having a lot of expectations that haven't been met by your romantic partner, this is a sign to try and get those needs met outside of the relationship. And while I am a fan of polyamory, I'm not necessarily talking about an open relationship. You can get those needs met in other ways. So think outside the box. If you feel like you're not getting enough of something from your romantic partner, maybe it shows up in a different form in your friendships or your family relationships, but it's still the core need being recognized. So don't put so much weight on one person or one situation in your life to meet all of your needs all of the time, and start spreading the love around. If codependency resonated for you, you might want to stick around for the general collective reading as well as the extended reading on the Patreon. But I hope that that reading served you well, Sagittarius. We're going to move into Capricorn. Capricorn, your card is the Two of Swords. So you are feeling a little stuck between a rock and a hard place underneath this Libra new moon, which makes sense because I said a couple signs ago, Libra new moons aren't the best for manifesting because this one's going to be in an eclipse and those just get a little funky. So if you do a lot of manifestation work around the new moon, like I do, you might wait a couple days outside of the eclipse to do that manifestation work because it feels like right now you're not really sure what you want. And that might be the universe protecting you from this funky eclipse energy because you don't really want to be manifesting right now. So slow your roll, cool your heels, do all of the cliches that tell you to just chill out for a while, because this new moon is just telling you to take a break from trying to push forward. And I know that's really hard for Capricorn energy because you are a go-getter. You want to move action forward. You are the divine masculine energy of the zodiac, regardless of your gender. So you like being able to create change and visible action in your life. But now is not the time for that. And if you try to push forward with action, you're either going to be really frustrated and exhausted and not get anywhere anyway, or you're going to create something that doesn't feel right in the end. So you don't want to push for something that feels a little stalled, because the stalemate that you're currently in is the universe trying to save you from future problems down the line because you manifested something too soon and in a funky energy environment. So just be patient. Wait. Everything is working out for you and everything is lining up in your favor. You're just not going to get it right this second. So trust that it's coming, and it's coming in an even better form than it would be right now if you just hold off a bit. I'm getting 2 weeks. It could be as soon as 2 days because sword energy is really fast energy, but at the outside 2 weeks is when this thing might start coming together in a way that feels more satisfying. So Capricorn, if that resonated for you, stick around for the extended reading, either for the collective or over on the Patreon. And moving on into Aquarius, we have a card that flipped straight over to the other side and then fell out of the deck. So let me get that. So this is your card, Aquarius. It is the Queen of Cups. And this is about letting yourself be vulnerable. I'm an Aquarius rising. I get it. Even though I have Cancer Sun and a Pisces moon, I like having that cool girl facade. So if you like being the cool guy or the cool girl that's not super vulnerable, that kind of goes with the flow, that like has all your own things under control and you don't need anyone else to make you feel like you are in alignment or feeling emotionally fulfilled, this is a card that's actually telling you to get a little vulnerable. And I kind of love this because a lot of our other cards have been talking about codependency, and for Aquarius, we're going the opposite way. I feel like you've gone so far away from codependency that you've shut yourself down from real, honest connection. And I feel you. I feel that. I hear it. Universe, I hear you. I'll take that in mind. But a codependent reading would still be resonant for you because you're just taking it and flipping it on its end. So stick around for the extended at the end because we are going to talk a little more about codependency. But for you, Aquarius, what I want to talk about is the fears that develop around healing codependency. Because once you've kind of gone to that one extreme and found yourself in a relationship that you felt vulnerable, or even gone as far as being codependent in a relationship, you pull back the other way. But sometimes you pull back too far. That pendulum goes all the way to the other side, and you end up shutting yourself down from the outside world. Or even if you're interacting with the outside world, you're doing it in a surface level way, a way that doesn't let you open up to the possibility of being hurt or being vulnerable emotionally with another individual. And that is what this new moon is calling out for you, because Libra is all about balance. So it's no surprise that half of the signs are talking about one side of the codependent coin, and then Aquarius, we're talking about the other side. You are looking to open up, to allow yourself to be vulnerable, and it doesn't have to happen all at once. Let it trickle in. Allow yourself to send a message to someone that you could potentially really care about. Don't send them everything at once because that would be very un-Aquarian of you. Send them a message that just says, hey, I respect what you're doing, or I like your vibe, or I like your energy, and see what unfolds from there. It's not going to be a confession of love or an undying passion. It's just going to be an open door where you reveal something that maybe feels a little vulnerable. I promise it's going to be okay. And through those baby steps, you will then eventually learn to open up to that vulnerability in a way that feels healthy and not codependent and balanced. Because you've already gone the other direction to know what that feels like. So eventually you should be able to settle in the middle pretty comfortably because the extremes no longer feel comfortable to you because you've experienced them both and neither one of them brought you happiness. So allow yourself to be vulnerable. It is the path to happiness, I promise. Moving forward from Aquarius into Pisces. Pisces, your card for this Libra new moon is the 8 of Wands. So Pisces, you're already swimming in your intuition most of the time, but I feel like this new moon is definitely going to be an intuitive time for you, particularly because it is an eclipse. So things that are in the shadows are kind of brought to light more. I want you to be very protective of your energy underneath this new moon, Pisces. I'm a Pisces moon. I get it. I think that you're probably highly empathic right now and you're picking up on a lot of energy of the people around you. So whatever energy cleansing practices that you put into place to feel in your own energy and released from the ties of the outside world, do that times 10. If you don't have any energy protection practices in place, I teach some of them in my Become Your Own Healer class. It's also a great way to cleanse your energy. So if you're interested in that, check out one of the links below for that because there's one coming up next Friday. Otherwise, there are plenty of resources on the internet. Find something that helps you feel cleansed and protected. Maybe it's a smoke cleanse. Maybe it's water. Maybe it's just a prayer or an intention that you set. Maybe it's an energetic bubble that you put around yourself before you go out into the world. But it's going to be really important because you want to make sure that you're in your energy because there's a lot of messages that want to come through from the universe that are for you. And if you're steeping in other people's energy and you haven't cleansed yourself properly, you're going to get their messages too, and it's just going to be a big old mess. So prevent yourself from that mess. I'm even giving you permission to be a little bit of a hermit around this new moon time period because it's going to help if you're interacting with less people. Do not put yourself in permanent hermit mode. I don't give you that permission. But 48 hours, something around that time period, give yourself like just your nearest and dearest and the energies that you trust the most around you. And that way you can have time to sit in meditation and listen for the messages that you are supposed to receive. But please make sure that you make time for it. Free writing, journaling, meditating, whatever it is that you do to tap into that higher self, you have to do that underneath this new moon. And it's a good time to do it because it's an eclipse. So as I've said in previous readings, it's not a great time for doing manifestations. So your goal underneath this new moon is not trying to manifest, it's trying to receive. So from Pisces, we move into Aries. Aries, your card underneath this Libra new moon is the Hanged One. Patience, patience. I know. It's not that easy for a fiery, passionate, dive in headfirst Aries energy, but it's going to benefit you in the long run. I've mentioned it in all the other readings or most of the other readings, but this new moon is an eclipse and the eclipses are not a great time for really diving into your manifestations and your actions. There's a manifestation that I feel like is just on the verge of happening. And I think prior to this new moon, you might even thought that it was going to happen at the new moon or prior to the new moon and something got, I don't even want to say stalled because it doesn't feel like a Two of Swords moment. It doesn't feel like it's a stalemate. It just feels like it's moving like molasses. And you're like, oh, I got all of the intuitive hits that this was going to be here by now. Why isn't it here? And the universe is just telling you to chill out, to relax. I feel like your totem underneath this new moon, which is a very strange one to be coming through, but it's Matthew McConaughey. You're just going to be all right, all right, all right. You are just chilling. And the more that you can embody that chill, slow, Southern Matthew McConaughey nature, the more that you will find ease underneath this new moon. Even just feeling that energy to tell you that, I feel much more in alignment. I've slowed down. I know that everything's going to be all right. So maybe watch a couple Matthew McConaughey movies underneath this new moon because he's going to be your role model. And trust that all is coming. It's coming in the right time. And just because it's moving slower than you thought does not mean that you've done anything wrong. I feel like that was an important message too. If you want more, stick around for the collective. Moving forward from Aries into Taurus. Whoa, Taurus, your card came right out and it is the Nine of Wands. So you are almost to your goal. Kind of similar to our Aquarius reading, only yours is even more so, it's right around the corner. So I feel like you've been working towards something, striving towards something. This feels like for some of you, it's an external goal or relationship, or for a lot of you, you've been striving for just an internal state. You've been working on yourself a lot lately, and you've been striving to feel a certain way or embody a certain energy, and you feel like you've been working at it for so long, and you're not quite sure why you're not fully embodying this new persona that you want. And the first message that I have for you is the standard message for this card, which is that it's right around the corner. You're climbing up a ladder and you don't even realize that you're on the top rung and about to give up right before the end. So do not give up. But the second message that I have to you is you're actually already there. Like, I feel like whatever your goal is, you're not giving yourself enough credit for having already basically achieved it. So maybe there's a couple things that are falling into place, but essentially you have stepped into your new power and you are fully embodying this new energy, and you're just beating yourself up for no reason. Like, you're not seeing it fully because you're still seeing yourself as the past version of yourself. So if you do nothing else underneath this new moon, because it's not a great energy to manifest, you might as well sit down and do a little meditation, do a little journaling, free writing, whatever it is that you need to do, and think about where you were 6 months ago. Maybe even read some old journal entries. If you have journals that you keep regularly, that's a really great resource to give yourself a bird's eye view of how much you've changed. And then think of where you are now and really give yourself credit for everything that's changed. And if you want more, stick around for the collective readings. From Taurus, we're moving into Gemini. So Gemini, you got a card. Gemini, your card underneath this Libra new moon, it's Judgment, which is a card of Libra energy. So you're right in alignment with the energy of the moment. And it feels like, honestly, all you're supposed to do is sit back and let karma work things out. Whatever it is that you feel like you've been waiting for or striving for, whether you're waiting for yourself to get a reward or for someone else to get their just desserts, it's coming. And you don't have to do anything. Do not worry your pretty little head about how the universe is sorting all of this out, because it is. It's sorting it out. It's sorting it out in your favor. Everything is going to fall into place exactly as it should. So even if you feel like you're not really on the right side of karma, it's still going to work things out exactly as it's supposed to. You're still going to get exactly what you deserve, and it's going to make you learn lessons and move forward and become a better person, because you are a spiritual person of growth and development. That's why you're here. So forget about everyone else. Focus on you. You're waiting on your karmic reward. And know that the universe is the best screenwriter on the planet. So if you like Hollywood's twists and turns and the way that they tie things up in a little bow at the end, that is nothing compared to what the universe can orchestrate for you. The only thing that you have to do is release the control around timing. And I know you're an earth sign. You like to know how things are going to play out. You like to have that security. But if you can just surrender a little bit, you'll find that it plays out in a way that you could not have even dreamed up possible. Way better than you could have expected, especially if you fully surrender. It can still come in if you don't fully surrender. It'll just hit a few hiccups along the way. If you fully surrender the outcome of a situation and you decide to be happy right now with what is and trust that everything is working out, it will show up in divinely creative ways that will make the best story at parties down the line. So I hope that served you, Taurus. We're moving into Gemini. Gemini, your card is the Nine of Pentacles. You are sitting pretty, my dear. So Gemini, Nine of Pentacles indicates that you have created a very secure, solo-focused nest. So whether you are single, in partnerships, in a family relationship, you have been really feathering a nest, either financially or energetically, that allows you to have the resources that you need to feel supported. Now, it may not be showing up in your bank account just yet, but you've done good work. So I want you to take this Libra new moon to just allow yourself to bask in your success of creating a sense of security and support around you. This could be support in your daily routine, supporting you in the way that you need to show up in the world. It can be support in your friends and family that are always there for you and that you know that you can rely on. It can be financial support as well, and all of these things support each other. So if you can create support in one of those areas first, the others will eventually follow. So if you're looking at anything in a sense of lack, look at the other areas of your life where you've created support and pat yourself on the back, because you deserve that reward and you deserve to feel really accomplished in all that you've grown. I don't have a lot of other messages for you, Gemini, so maybe stick around for the extended, see if something resonates there. So Cancers, your card, wanted to jump right out. It's the Tower. I'm a Cancer sun, so this is my reading too, and I get, unpopular opinion, really excited when the Tower card comes out. Why? because I'm a glutton for punishment. No, it's not a punishment. First of all, my mission in life, the reason I think that I'm on this planet is just to continue to grow as much as I can. So if you are a sucker for growth, that is what the tarot card is about. Yes, it's about destruction first, but then it's about maximum level growth. So if you've ever gone through a huge, life-changing, groundbreaking, earth-shaking circumstance change in your life, if you've gone through a heart-wrenching breakup, if you've gone out for a job that you really wanted and didn't get, if you've lost someone important to you in your life and it totally shook up your entire world and your day-to-day life, that is what a tower moment feels like. That doesn't mean that those things are exactly what's going to happen to you, but the energy around this Libra new moon is about tearing something down to the foundation and rebuilding in a way that's more sustainable for who you currently are. So that's the key for the Tower card, is that it only happens when we're ready for change and we're resistant to it. Because the universe knows that we have all of the capacity that we need to move into this next chapter of our lives. And if we are feeling super cozy and secure and kind of scared of that next step, the universe will do something to propel us forward into that next chapter. You have two choices underneath the Tower card. You can choose to turn a blind eye to all of the signs that you are seeing that it's time to move forward, that you are ready, that you have everything you need, and continue to stay cozied up in your little cocoon. And if you do that, the universe is gonna send a rainstorm to tear that cocoon away and leave you drenched and soaked and cold and chilly and feeling very vulnerable. Or you can recognize that a Tower card might be on the horizon, because you know that it's time to change. And you can summon the courage to take that step, to take that leap of faith, to get out of your cozy cocoon yourself when the weather is nice and sunny and bright and optimal for that growth. And you can exit the cocoon of your own accord. And that's gonna be a much more pleasant experience. Like, yes, it takes more courage to do that, but in the long run, you're gonna have an easier time. So as someone who has encountered Tower card energy very often in the past 10 years of my life, I can tell you that it's always very exciting on the other side. So that's why I get super excited when I see the Tower card. Because while the Tower itself might be uncomfortable, either because you're conquering your fears or because the universe has decided to kick you out of a situation that you weren't willing to conquer your fears to get out of, either way, when you come through to the other side, you're a butterfly. And that's way better than being a larva or a worm or inside a cocoon trapped in one place. If that served you, stick around for the collective reading. Moving on from Cancer into Leo. Leo, your card underneath this Libra new moon is the Six of Wands, which should be a very comfortable spot for Leo. So Leo's life being the spotlight, Six of Wands is about being visible, about being seen. The one thing I'm getting from this card for you, Leo, though, is that it's going to be plenty of praise. You're going to be in your spotlight. You're going to be center stage. You're going to have all the roses thrown out on stage while you're taking your final bow. But there's going to be some tomatoes in that audience as well. But it's up to you if those tomatoes make their way to the stage and actually make contact with you, because your message underneath this Libra new moon is to stop caring quite so much about what everyone thinks. And I know it's hard. I got a Leo Venus. I got a Leo Mercury. I get it. You like to be the star. You like to be praised. You like to be complimented. Me too. But if you believe the compliments, then you also sometimes believe the insults. And I think that your visibility underneath this new moon is going to bring in both, because that's the society we live in. That is what's ultimately always going to come in, no matter who you are, no matter how perfect you are. As Dita Von Teese says, you could be the ripest, juiciest peach in all the world, and there's still going to be someone out there that doesn't like peaches. So be a peach, be as juicy as you want, and be okay with the fact that people just don't like peaches. And don't take it personally. Because again, if I go back to the metaphor of the stage, as you're out there in the spotlight, you're going to have more roses thrown at the stage than you are going to be tomatoes. But your ability to dodge those tomatoes depends on how much you care about both the roses and the tomatoes. So take everything with a grain of salt and trust that your opinion of yourself is the highest praise that you need. And if that's not giving you praise, if you're not giving internal praise to yourself, that is what you're working on in the shadow of this eclipse. So now we'll move into the general collective reading for all signs. So all signs, general collective, again, I'm going to dive in even deeper over on my Patreon. So we're going to do 3 cards though. We're going to do a past, present, future spread. and I'm going to shuffle in the cards from everyone else. So if your card comes up again from one of your signs, I'm going to consider that a sign that you really should go to the extended reading, but one of them just fell out. It's not a repeat card. So this is going to be our past card, Two of Cups. This is tracking right on track with what I thought the theme was going to be. Oh my God, another one fell out. Present card, Nine of Pentacles. I know that was a sign, so if it was your sign, you might want to see the extended. And then the future for all of us, for the general collective, underneath this new moon, in regards to, quite frankly, codependency, we got two that fell out. Ten of Swords, not the most inviting, but the other one was the Empress. I love it when the cards play out exactly the way that the storyline has told me that they're going to. This is a reading of codependency. The good news is most of us are going through the process already of codependent recovery. And again, if you didn't watch any readings that I actively mentioned codependency, codependency can apply to a romantic relationship, but it can also apply to job environments. It can apply to family situations, and it can apply to friendships. It can apply to pet relationships. So wherever it is that you feel like you are in a situation where you are dependent on another being, situation, circumstance, group to make you feel in alignment, whole, complete, worthy. That is what we're talking about here. So apply it as you see fit. I may use the metaphor of a romantic relationship for this unfolding just to keep it simple, but I truly, truly, truly believe that it applies to all situations. I am in active codependent recovery from my pet relationships, so use it as it resonates. Recent past, Two of Cups. So Two of Cups is a lover's energy. So that makes sense for this partnership, whatever it might be. And the great thing about this one coming through is that there are two cards that indicate a love relationship in the deck. There's the Lovers and there's the Two of Cups. And the Lovers is a major arcana. So it's a very divinely guided energy. The Two of Cups is a minor arcana. So it's a very earthly, human guided energy. And in its best of days, it's a great dynamic. It's a great simpatico relationship. But on its worst of days, it can be codependent because it is based around our own earthly needs and desires and wounds. So this is symbolizing a connection between two parties that came together from a place of lack. Everyone that you attract into your life is a mirror to what you're currently going through. So you get from a relationship what you brought into it. And it sometimes looks different, but if you are in a place of feeling lonely and in lack and like you're not worthy of love or whatever it was that you were going through before this connection got to its height, it could be a new connection or it could have been something that like just accelerated. You will then find that you attract someone else that was in a place of lack. And again, lack shows up and wounds show up in different people in different ways. And oftentimes we attract someone that has a wound that shows up in the opposite way of us. Imago theory, Harville Hendrix, Getting the Love You Want, Keeping the Love You Find. Totally check out those books because they're some of my favorites if you are dealing with codependency and you want to break those thoughts down. But essentially, it's a classic study. If you have an insecure attachment and you're clingy, you will attract an avoidant that wants to run away from someone that's clingy. And you two will just go through this dance back and forth. And that's essentially what we're talking about here. We're talking about a relationship that was in a way balanced because you both came in with balanced wounds, but because you came in from a wounded place and not a place of wholeness, you then triggered each other and brought up all your shadow stuff and caused a lot of chaos in that situation. This is the recent past, so I feel like most of us, if we're not extracting ourselves from that situation, we at least recognize those patterns. So I think you're ahead of the game there and that like you see it, you see that it happened. The present energy underneath this full moon is the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles is telling us that we are creating a nest that is self-sustaining, which is exactly what we want to do when we're recovering from codependent energy. So the more that you can surround yourself with feelings of being whole, that don't have anything to do with your external circumstances. Sometimes you can use a little bit of the external circumstances to kind of get you there, but you don't want to rely on the external circumstances because they're always changing. So even if it's something as simple as it's a really beautiful day outside and I feel really happy and joyful because it's a beautiful day, it may not be a beautiful day tomorrow. You want to get yourself where you can use the external to kind of have that feeling resonate. And then create a way to create those feelings internally. And a great way to do this, you remember this triggering relationship that we had in our recent past, is to look at the things that attracted you to that person again, romantic, friendship, group situation, job. What did you feel exhilarated by in the beginning? What really drew you in to their energy? Those are things that you feel like you're lacking. You were secretly looking for someone to complete you, whether you admit it or not. And so what you want to do is you want to recognize those things that you were drawn to and ask yourself how you can become that energy. And maybe it's not an exact match. It doesn't mean that you're attracted to the fact that this person's a really talented singer and you can't sing a lick, and so that's why you kind of were drawn to them. You were attracted to the fact that they were talented in something that they were passionate about. And you can cultivate that in many different areas of your own life. It doesn't have to be singing. Use that example, apply it as you see fit. This also means establishing a sense of self-worth, the Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles is about feeling abundant, feeling whole, feeling worthy. So if you don't feel worthy of love and attachment and someone who's whole and healed and healthy, then you're not ready to call that in. So really work on that, because in our near future, we have the Ten of Swords. But as scary as this card looks, it signifies the absolute ending of something. If you put 10 swords in something, it's gone. It's done. It is no longer of this earthly plane. So this is us putting 10 swords in our codependent habits. And it's coming about because we've created this sense of internal security, self-wholeness, self-worth. So that feels uncomfortable though. Like it looks like a scary card. It's not going to feel like the most comfortable thing to be like, oh, well, that's done. And sometimes this is the external world doing this for you. This could be that you did cling on to a codependent relationship for so long that even though you were secretly developing a sense of wholeness and a sense of self-worth, you were still like, but I still want it around for safety. And the universe is like, we're putting a nail in that coffin. That's going to be done. And external circumstances will pull that person or situation out of your life. Tower card as well. But then because of that, we find the Empress. And the Empress is the card of the divine feminine, and it all comes full circle, and it's so beautiful. If you go back to the original Libra card, it talked about divine feminine, divine masculine union. We all have both within us, and they're not about gender, they're about energy. And the divine feminine is about receptivity. It's about knowing your worth and trusting that things are going to come to you in the right timing. Divine masculine is about action, seeing the big picture, and propelling things forward. Now, regardless of gender, we live in a masculine energy world. So we don't feel the sense of worthiness unless we are taking big action and propelling things forward and going out there and getting things, which is a great divine masculine energy if the timing for that is right and if you're balanced with feminine and masculine within you. But because most of the planet is out of balance with their divine feminine, we have too much of the masculine. This means that we are creating balance. So even though we're swinging the pendulum over towards the feminine to find that balance, this ultimately means that we're coming into balance because we already had enough masculine energy. This is about being intuitive, meditative, still, calm, receptive, magnetic, and calling in what you want. And with that in mind, I want to move into our Total Betty Goddess card because I think she is just going to refine this whole reading. This is a deck that I created. If you don't already know, you can find out more about it at the links below. If you're a fan of the 90s or if you just want to know more about goddesses, it's a great resource and it's available for pre-order for the second edition, which is this pretty one that I have here. I'm going to shuffle up the deck. So much energy moving through. We have a card that fell out. Let's see what it is. Correction. We have two cards that fell out. So we're going to get two goddesses. The first one, Hathor, played by Brandy as Moesha. The second one, Bastet, played by Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman in Batman Returns. I love this combo. It is not the one that I expected to come out of the deck, but we're almost taking like a divine feminine and masculine within the divine feminine energy here. So while they're both definitely feminine energy, Hathor's about home and hearth and harmony and family, and Bastet is about sexuality and sensuality and pleasure. They have a little feel of masculine and feminine energy within them. So if you allow me to go on a tangent for a second, I mentioned become your own healer in one of the readings for one of the signs. And in Become Your Own Healer, which is my Reiki/intuitive magic class that's coming up next Friday, I talk about how we can divide the chakras into feminine and masculine energy. So the tangent that I want to say is these two cards are reading to me like the sacral chakra divided into its feminine and masculine sides. All of that is a bunch of very energy healer speak to say these are two sides of the same coin, because they're both about finding a sense of harmony and really luxuriating in pleasure and things that make you feel good. But Hathor is kind of more connected to your home, your external circumstances, your community. She's very in tune with family. So if you're dealing with the codependent relationships within your family unit, she might be a good card to create a little more balance there. But she specifically deals with more the external home. So it's about making your external circumstances reflect what you want to have on your internal center. So this could be a sort of work from the outside in scenario here, where you make your home feel complete and balanced and whole and unneeding of some external circumstances, and that helps you to feel more whole. It also could symbolize that you are your home and you're creating all of that harmony within yourself. So I want you to use that as sort of a visualization for your meditation, that you are home. So you can even picture sort of like an internal room or house within your mind and decorate it and light candles and light incense and make it a pretty color and put plants around and visualize all of that on your internal space. And know that within that little home that you've built within you, everything is right and everything is complete. And anytime your external relationships start to trigger you into thinking that you are not whole, you can retreat in meditation to this oasis, this home that you've created within you. And then on the other side of the coin, Bastet is about pleasure and sensuality. And these are kind of two sides of relationships, right? Like if we're looking for an ideal romantic partner, or especially a life partner, you want someone that both feels like home and feels safe, but also feels really exciting and ignites your passion and your fire and knows how to pleasure you. And Bastet knows how to pleasure herself. And that is how she attracts an external circumstance that also pleasures her. So this can totally be a self-pleasure card. I'm a big fan of that. I am an ambassador for a yoni egg and sex toy company that you can find in some of the links below. But this also can just be about finding pleasure in everything, finding pleasure in yourself. This is a very tantric card. So you can find pleasure in the external world, you can find pleasure in the sun, but as we mentioned in some of the readings earlier, it's not about finding a sense of wholeness and happiness outside of you. So while you can start with the external world, finding internal pleasure is what ultimately is going to feel good. And yes, there's a nice little like wink and a nod there, but also finding a pleasurable sensation within you. So what does it feel like when you are in pleasure? What does that emotion feel like? What does that physical state feel like in your body? Can you sit in meditation and cultivate that feeling? If you want more resources on this, I highly recommend a book called Urban Tantra. I'll put it in the links below. Or just tantric resources in general, because that is about finding pleasure in every area of your life, not just in your sensuality. That's a lot, but we've got more. So if all of that resonated and you want to check out all of the goodies over on the Patreon, check the links below. And if you're watching on the Patreon, the rest of this massive card reading starts right now. But because your energy is now amazing, you called in something equally amazing.